Hi everyone and welcome back to Dimensional Wellness. This is DeeDee. I'm so glad to be here with you today, exchanging some energy. I'm trying to get just through the beginning of it because I want to get to this experience. This is like an experience. Maybe I'll make this a story time. And it has a really big life lesson in it, which is why I want to talk about it. Is that a cute little flower? I mean, not a flower, a feather. You guys, last month, at the end of the month last month, I was having so many little baby white flowers. I keep saying flowers, feathers, floating near my car, and I would have to jump out and grab them. These cute little tiny baby feathers. Most of them are white. There were some gray ones and black ones and stuff, but it was just consistently for a week. And I see one floating. I'm not going to jump out and get it because I actually just set an intention. I was like, okay, I've got the feathers now. Give me the next level of it. You know what I'm saying? Because it's hard. I mean, I want something else to start coming to me. Something else that I can recognize. So anyways, that's not the point of what I'm talking about today. So we're going to be talking about the time that I met Confucius. And I feel like I've talked about this before, but maybe I deleted the thing. Maybe I talked about it in another video. But even if I have, you never hear the same thing twice. So I believe that, even if I have said it before, there's a reason I'm saying it again. I really don't think that I have, though, but we'll see. So this story time extends over a period of time. So I'm going to talk about the highlight reel. This is connected into my quote-unquote spiritual awakening. But I'm not going to get too deep into the spiritual awakening right now. That's going to be another video for another day. I might do that one closer to my birthday. About my awakening journey and some of the highlight reels of what was going on at that time, what it feels like and things like that. I definitely want to do a PDF at some point on helping people to navigate the dark nights of the soul. And then, the traditional dark nights of the soul, and then the awakening journey. But anyways, this is definitely connected into it because this was actually the few months after I had my traditional dark night of the soul. So I'm just going to call it an awakening just because everybody pretty much knows what that connects to. But I'm specifically calling it a dark night of the soul because it was definitely a negative experience at first. And then over time, I started to be able to understand all the different aspects and everything that was going on. So I'm just going to call it an awakening from here on out. So my awakening, I was in queue for this awakening April 2013. And of course, there were things, going on probably a year or two. I'd say probably definitely 2 years before this awakening actually happened in 2013. So I'm saying that because, it's a lot of things that go into these pivotal, sparking points. That's what I would say. What interesting, 217, 218. These pivotal, and 219 is definitely interesting. But we're not there yet. So I'm talking about time. I'm not going to talk about what the connection is, but that time is very interesting. So anyways, okay, let me get back on track of what I was talking about. Oh, just how, it's usually a symphony, I want to say that, of different events over a period in time. And then you have these implosion moments where this big thing happens. But if you really think back on it, there's a lot of things that fed into the reality showing up how it has. And most of the time, especially in my life, everything, by the time we get to the implosion part of it, all the things surrounding that have been in my reality for a period in time. And the implosion part is when I'm finally putting all the pieces together, which is why again, I'm going to mention that if you do not have a dream journal or life journal or something like that, highly recommend Google Docs. It's really easy to just start writing down things on Google Documents so that you can go back and search things and look for things. Okay, so the big implosion event that set off this next chain of events was the awakening. Okay, so I had the awakening in 2013, and then about 3 months after that, so April, May, June, July, I would say like around July, I started getting into meditation. Okay, so obviously I'm skipping over a lot of things. I started getting into meditation. And at first it was really funny because I didn't know how to meditate. Like, I didn't know what you were supposed to do. I remember that I tried guided meditations, which I didn't even know what the term guided meditation was. I just picked it on YouTube. And then it would be people talking and trying to, like, you know, literally like guide you through visualizations in your mind to get you to a certain brain state so that it can start having a certain impact over your body and over your mental field, right? And I remember that I couldn't even do the visualizations because I had no frame of reference of, like, when you close your eyes and everything is black, how you start visualizing out of blackness. But I just used my reasoning skills and I was like, okay, clearly there are plenty of videos on guided meditation, so obviously this is a thing. So what I started off doing, which is so funny because I've heard people say like they, you know, are absent of visualizations, and that's like, you know, a term or whatever, and it's like a state of being, because you can go from no visualizations to like aphantasia. Aphanta, like aphantasia, is that what? Oh my gosh. Okay, so you can go from no visualizations to like hyper visualizations. That's a state of being. It's not like something wrong with your brain or whatever. So anyways, what I started off with, and it took me probably about a good, it probably took me like a good month or so, I would say. Because definitely by the time Christmas came around, I was starting to have like, what do they call it? The hypnagogic state, where you see the different swirls and colors and stuff. So it took me about a good month or so to be like, how do you literally imagine something out of nothing? Like, all I saw was black, and this woman was like, imagine a white light, and I'm like, literally, how do you imagine a white light in blackness? Which I think is also very profound when we think about existence coming from primordial state of being. It's actually pretty powerful. So anyways, I started off with just, at first I had no clue where to start, and then again I had to just start thinking logically, and I was like, okay, well, you know, like when I first started meditation, like I was even meditating when it was light outside, right? And so I would say like, okay, this is black, but I can at least still see the light that's coming in through the window. And so how do I translate what is going on outside of my eyes to what's going on inside of my eyes? So I just started off with focusing on the light bulbs in the house, you know, because when you focus on staring at a light bulb, then that picture translates when your eyes are closed, so you can see it. So that's what I started off with. And then, like I said, it took me about a month or so, and then by a month I was able to actually sit in the darkness and picture that light coming on in my mind, and then it would actually translate as a light coming in from the darkness towards me. Okay, so not just me thinking of a memory of the light coming on and seeing it, but it actually would come into focus from somewhere else and then come into focus from the darkness into, like, in front of my view. And that's what started this visualization journey, okay? So I started playing around with the guided meditations for a while. And I think that this was in 2014 when I had this specific visualization that I'm going to talk about. So I practiced it for a while, got really good at it because I already had really vivid dreams, like, since a child. Like, there's certain memories that I remember from, like, really little that are so vivid But anyways, so I practiced it for a while, and then sometime in 2014, I believe it was like the beginning of 2014, I started to see, I started doing guided meditations, which I don't do them anymore because my brain hardly ever follows the meditation anymore. So now I just like listen to music, let my brain do its own thing, unless I have a specific reason that I want to visualize. So anyways, I started back with the guided meditations, and I was like so happy now because I could actually see what they were talking about now. And so I did one where this woman was like, meet your spirit guide. So I was like, oh, a spirit guide. I hadn't really heard of the concept yet, but I'd heard of like a guardian angel. So I'm like, okay, I guess it's like some type of being that we can't see that's helpful to you, because she didn't really explain what a spirit guide was. And so in this visualization, she had us picture just a simple green field, which is really easy to visualize. And then we were supposed to go up to a tree and touch a tree, and then she took us over this bridge, and over this bridge we were supposed to go to a castle and walk in. And then when we walked into the castle, we were supposed to sit Indian style, and then she took us to some visualizations to basically call the spirit guide in, okay? Which is a very powerful thing. Even when you don't know what you're doing, it's a very powerful thing. The imagination realm is very interesting. So I followed the visualization. I walked over the bridge, and then I got to the castle, and it was a very specific castle. Okay. So she didn't tell us how to visualize the castle. She just said a castle, and then it has a door. So I ended up seeing this very interesting castle, that was circular, number one. It looked like the kind of medieval castles where they have like the jigsaw puzzle kind of tower at the top where people are at the lookout, and they have I don't know what that's called, but you probably know what I'm talking about. It looks like a medieval castle, child. And it was circular, kind of like a lighthouse. And so I would walk in there, and I sat down, and it was all white in there. And at first, the only thing I saw was like a yellow orb. Now, at that time, I didn't know what an orb was, but I just was like, oh, there's a yellow light flashing in here. And so I just assumed that it wasn't going to work, or I needed to, try longer, I guess. And so I just took myself out of it. And I was like, okay. So, again, it took me some time, but I started realizing that every time I did, not every single time, y'all, but pretty frequently when I would lay down and I would try to get myself into meditation, because at that point, I was doing it to, see different things, but I was really doing it as like an exercise to build up my visualization abilities. So I would lay down to like relax mainly, and then just see what comes up. So one of these times I was relaxing, over a period in time, I would always see this castle, and I'd always be walking up to it. And I just assumed that I was always seeing it because of that guided meditation. I didn't do too many more guided meditations after that. So on this one time, I walked up to the castle, and I went inside, and I actually kept seeing this Mongolian warrior, okay? And it was shocking because I was like, oh my gosh, is this my spirit guide? Wait, it's really funny. I was like, oh my gosh, is this my spirit guide? But he was so angry looking, and like every time I saw him, he had a sword, and it looked like he was trying to like slice me up with the sword. So I'm like, I don't know if this is my spirit guide, because he seemed like he's on some like whole other stuff. Like, are they supposed to be rude or what? So anyways, I would see him, and I would see him like swing the sword at me, but it never affected me. And then at some point I realized that he was not the same density as me. So he was kind of like a little bit more dense than an apparition. And so I just started flicking him away. Like, that's what I thought in my mind. Like, I wish I could just like flick him away. So on this time I was like, just go away. And I flicked my hand, and he just flew out of sight. And I was like, oh snap. Okay. Not all the way out of sight. Not yet. So the first few times it would like move him out of the way. And I would just have to like keep him over there so that he wasn't in my visual field, because he kept getting in my visual field. And I was really trying to see who my spirit guide was, because she said that they would show up in a white robe. And so eventually, over time, you know, I would see him. Every time I saw him, I'd flick him. It like became like a ritual, honestly. I just flick him away, be like, oh, you know, get out of here, scram, whatever. And then eventually it got so good to where I would like just see him starting to materialize. I'm just like, ugh. And I didn't even have to flick or even think about him going away. He just didn't even get a chance. So then, interesting thing is, like, on this particular day, which I don't remember specifically what day it was, but on this particular day, I started to see the spirit guide manifest in his white robe, and he was Asiatic. And I was like, what? Now, I didn't know that it was Confucius at first. I was just seeing him, and he was sitting down. We were staring at each other, and we were both Indian style, and he wasn't talking at first. So I would try to talk to him and everything like that, but he was observing me with this Mongolian warrior. So, child, on this particular day, I don't remember when it was either, but on this particular day, he finally spoke, and he was like, you know, if you keep doing that, you're going to get so good at it that he's not going to come back. And not in my head, I said it out loud. I was like, well, that's exactly what I want. Like, good. I'm like, he's really like a gnat. He's bothering me. And he was like, yeah, well, when he's out of sight, then what's going to happen? And I kind of got the gist of what he was trying to say. Like, when you can't see him, what's going to happen? And I was like, well, am I responsible for that? Like, what do you mean? Aren't there other people that can like deal with him? Like, or is it me? And he didn't say anything. So I was like, okay, I guess I'm supposed to be responsible for this person. I'm like, I don't even remember who that is. And I don't know who you are. And then he told me to sit, you know, and just like kind of sink deeper into this meditation. Then I immediately knew who he was, and I knew that he was Confucius. Now, when I remembered he was Confucius, I didn't remember all the philosophy and stuff like that, because I don't even remember when I learned about Confucius in high school or whatever. I don't even know how I knew about Confucius. Maybe college in a philosophy class or something like that, possibly. But I kept saying, like, are you Confucian? And then I was like, oh, it's Confucius. Okay. And so then I was like, okay, well, let me see if I can figure out who this person is. And I'm like, he's always trying to slice me with this sword. And he was like, yeah, well, he's angry at you. And I'm like, okay, so how are we supposed to talk? Because he's in this like really upset and angry state. Like, he's past the point of me being able to even communicate with him. Like, he's such in a tizzy and a rage that even the sight of me, he's upset. How am I supposed to communicate with that? And so I saw this guy again, and I looked into his eyes, and I knew that in some type of way he was a brother of mine. He was like my brother in a past life. Now, I was a sister, and I don't know what I did to this man. I still don't know, because I haven't even really gone back to it. But now that I'm talking about it, maybe I will. But I remembered that we had a past life together. Now, when I remembered this past life, it didn't stick out to me as a past life yet, because I don't think I had really heard of past lives. But I remembered that I knew him from a long time ago. That's how I interpreted it. But I didn't necessarily have the word of like a past life yet. I was like, his soul is familiar to me, and I feel like I knew him somewhere. I've seen him before, and I feel like we have a brother and sister connection. So Confucius was like, yeah, exactly. And that is why we really want you to go. I kid you not. He was like, that's why we want you to go to Earth and go find him, because he's causing havoc, and he is your responsibility. So if you keep pushing him out of the dimension, that's what he said. If you keep pushing him out of the dimension, then we're not going to be able to keep track of him. And who knows the type of chaos he's going to be causing when he's not in our visual field. We can't keep track of him. And so I understood in that moment. Again, I didn't have the words really for this, but now I do. He was like, you're going to have to go find him on Earth. And my brain, of course, was like, I'm already on Earth. What is he talking about? But I literally saw myself in this visualization drop down from this castle. And I dropped down into the Milky Way atmosphere. And I literally thought in my head, where is he on Earth? And then I spotted him. And that's how I came to be born in New Orleans. And that's how I came to be born in New Orleans, child. And it was so interesting because for the longest time, right, I definitely remembered this interaction. I remembered everything about it, but I just didn't know what to do with that memory. So I was just like, that's weird. That's strange. And so it wasn't until I had my first encounter with Saint Germain. So that's like another story I'll probably talk about at another time. But I had this encounter with Saint Germain, and he came through and let me know that I needed to make a tincture. Now, at this time, I had no clue what a tincture was. But he showed me a spray bottle of water with amethyst in it. Now, at this time, I didn't even know crystals like that. I didn't even, remember crystals like that. So there was a person that I called and I was like, have you ever seen this purple crystal before? And it's like dark purple on the top and it's like white or something at the bottom. Like it's not purple all the way through. And she had told me that she'd actually just gone somewhere and actually got a crystal called amethyst. And then, of course, eventually I found out that Saint Germain is linked to the violet flame. And so that's a whole nother set of dreams and a whole nother conversation for another day. But anyways, as I was looking into Saint Germain, I came across, call it Saint Germain. And as I came across that, what did I find but the Luisenlund castle that it was said that he was supposed to be in when he finally died, I think in the 1700s. Now, it's interesting because even before I found this castle, I kept seeing these two words associated to Germany, but I knew that they were Hawaiian words. So that would be Nassau, Nassau, right? Let me double check and make sure that is Nassau, child. Nassau, Germany, right? Yeah, okay. Nassau. And then I also saw it spelled Hassau, like I think Hasuu. And for some reason, I just knew that they were Hawaiian words. And I was like, that's interesting. And then I kept seeing Hesse, Hesse, I kid you not. And I was like, what? So then I found Luisenlund. So I'm going to read you a little bit about Luisenlund. I'm going to read you a little bit about it. Okay. Yeah, and this is the website that I always come to. So they wrote this in 2016. Okay, so this is about Carl and Saint Germain at Luisenlund, and this is the exact castle. I kid you not, this is the exact castle. Now it's even more interesting because they did this write up on this November I think it's 16th, which just passed. November 24th. Oh my gosh, is today November 24th? If today is November 24th, I'm gonna pass out because I'm not sure if it's the 23rd or the 24th. Where's the cap? Oh my gosh, today is November 24th. I kid you not. I'm about to go pass out. I'm about to go pass out and then I'll come back. I'm not. I'm going to finish it. What? They wrote this on November 24th, 2016. Wow. Oh, goodness gracious. So anyways, like I told you, I saw this castle and stuff in my visualization in 2014, which is probably why I didn't even really find it until later, because they hadn't written the article on it yet for me to put all these things together. Wild.com. Okay, wild.com. What? Okay, so Landgrave Karl von Hessen Castle. Okay, so this is the estate of the Illuminatus Landgrave Karl von Hessen Castle, who was born in 1744 and he died 1836, and he was an occult Masonic initiatory. This was an occult Masonic initiatory retreat. The world's foremost expert on 18th century golden and rosy cross, Dr. Christopher McIntosh. Oh my gosh, like Macintosh computers. What? The head of the Asiatic Brethren in the 1780s and 1790s was Karl von Hessen Castle, one of the most fascinating and influential figures at the time in the world of Masonry, Rosicrucianism, and Hermetic studies. He not only belonged to innumerable orders and rites, but he was a practicing alchemist and was a friend of the mysterious French alchemist, the Comte de Saint-Germain, who he harbored during the last years of Saint-Germain's life on his estate, Luisenlund, in what is now Schleswig-Holstein, which he turned into a great center of Masonic and esoteric activity. The park at Luisenlund, about an hour's drive northeast of Kiel, was laid out in the form of an initiatory journey that involves the candidate passing through a dense wood, finding his way through a labyrinth, and encountering various alchemical and allegorical images along the way. So I'm going to skip down a little bit. Okay, so of course it says that Karl was an incorrigible mystic, a Mason, an Illuminatus, an alchemist, a spiritual and practitioner of all manner of occult sciences. That he chose this place to conduct his activities is no wonder. What probably attracted him in the first place is what is now known as Luisenlund Grove, a collection of standing stones on Bornholm Island. Bornholm Island? Karl no doubt wanted to harness the same energies as the ancient mystics who had long ago, in a forgotten past, practiced a tradition he longed for and sought all his life to reintegrate. I don't actually remember looking up this collection of standing stones on Bornholm Island. I need to look that up. You know what? I'm about to, oh, this is talking about Horus. Interesting. I'm about to look up right quick. Like, I want to see if there is a connection between Saint Germain, because I haven't thought about that. Saint Germain and Confucius. Has Saint Germain ever been connected to Confucius? I'm using Bard. I love Bard. It's not always correct, but we gonna get there. Okay, it's 2:42. Okay. Has Saint Germain... Okay, so this says that there is not a connection. Let's see, has anybody online in general connected those two? Saint Germain and Confucius. You never know. It could be like a past life connection or something like that. Oh, I didn't know that they considered him an ascended master. What? Okay. Is the brilliant alchemist? Yes. I didn't know Confucius was considered an ascended master. I mean, that could be the connection to them. Definitely could be the connection to them. But I'm sure it'll come back around, I'm sure. Anyways, the spiritual lesson that I got from that was that at the end of the day, on this spiritual journey, which exists outside of just your human life and, in relation to, whatever God or deity and everything like that, on the spiritual journey, all things exist. And so at the end of the day, it's going to be much more beneficial to figure out how to deeply connect with everything that you are afraid of, or you have issues with, or you don't trust, in order to come back into some type of state of alignment. Because the truth of the matter is that outside of time and space, everyone is connected in some way, shape, or form, and they exist. And so it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to try to quote unquote escape the planet or go to New Earth and leave things behind, because eventually, just from a basic standpoint, it's going to start the cycle all over again at some point. Because leaving something behind doesn't mean that you have actually made peace with it, or that it's going to get enlightenment over time. So that was a pretty big lesson that I learned. Alongside that, I also learned about a very crucial part, and not to say that I wouldn't have come to this on my own at some point, because I have a personality like that in general, but at some point there is a higher expectancy of certain people that even though this is not, let's say, on your job description to do, it is still expected for you to do. And those are certain nudges and reminders sometimes when we have guides who remind you that even though this is not necessarily your responsibility, there is an expectation that with the maturity of spirit that you will help out. And so I wanted to just give that little message today. And then, I will be back with some more videos and content. I think next week, going into December, I'm going to start doing zodiac signs. So I think what I'll probably start doing is picking days. I was just going to do 2 or 3 consistently. But I think I'll start doing days for the different signs and do it that way and split it up. Because, if you have 12 videos and they're all 12 minutes long, it could be a long time. So I think I'll start doing that, and then I'll start posting dream content maybe once a week. And then, of course, make sure that you comment, subscribe. 252. All the fun things that we do here on YouTube. And I will be back. I will, be back later on this week. Bye, friends.